Here today to talk about using Miro for collaborative wireframing with your team. And hopefully this session will be fun and interactive, and feel free to ask questions using Zoom chat. We'll also have a separate frame on the board. I'm going to share a link to the board in a moment, so you will be able to add questions to sticky notes. So the plan for today is that we're going to do a quick icebreaker to get everyone warmed up and ready to go. And then I'm going to show you a quick demo of how you can use Miro for creating wireframes. And since I'm a product marketer, I don't have a ton of design experience, so you will be able to see what it looks like when you need to create a wireframe and you don't have a designer background. And then I'm going to share some tips and tricks about avoiding getting too caught up in details when you're just ideating and you want to get some really quick feedback from your team, especially when it's distributed. And then I'm going to do a quick overview of some of the most useful features that we have in our product for collaborative wireframing. And then we're going to do a quick hands-on session. You will get a chance to try our product and wireframe a little bit. And then if there are any questions that I can answer for you, we'll do our Q&A. Let's move on and talk a little bit about creating wireframes without any design experience. So first off, I want to go over a couple of use cases who may want to create wireframes using Miro. There are obviously point solutions, there are design tools that you can use for wireframing and prototyping. At the same time, there are some great use cases where Miro can come in handy. First off, our team at Miro, our product managers, use our own product to create simple wireframes when they want to get very fast feedback from developers, designers, and other team members, just to validate their hypotheses or understand if their idea is viable or not. They don't want to spend a ton of time creating a pixel perfect wireframe, so they just do something really quickly using Miro. As a marketer, I use Miro for wireframing a ton because I really want to get feedback and stakeholder alignment, and I don't unfortunately have the time. I cannot invest the time into teaching myself how to use designer products. So that's why Miro works for me really well. And from the feedback that our users have been giving us, we know that consultants love using Miro for wireframing because this way they can quickly sync with their clients and get some initial inputs and feedback for their ideas. So this is also helpful for consultants. And something that even designers do in Miro is they create wireframes here. And the reason why they do it using Miro is because we do not try to optimize for creating pixel perfect wireframes. We really want people just to align on general concepts, general directions, and whatnot. And right now, I'm going to show you really quickly how you can create wireframes in Miro. So the way I would typically approach it is I would go ahead and I do it quite often, find a reference. For example, let me bring up a page here. So if I want to create a wireframe, I would always first find a similar page that already exists on our website, for example, because if I can drop a reference, it will be a lot easier for the team to understand what it is that I want to accomplish. So right now I used a web capture tool and I captured a landing page that we already have. And right now I'm going to resize it a little bit and drop it here on the frame. So I would typically create a frame, capture the existing page. And if you look at it, it basically has all of the typical elements of any web page. So there is a header and some screens here. So what I would do next is I would go to our wireframe library. And as you can see, I have the option to pick any of these devices if I want to explicitly show that we are creating a page that's optimized for a smartphone or a tablet. I don't necessarily have to do it, but it's also an option. And then, as you can see, there are a number of pre-made components. For example, there are horizontal tabs here. So as you can see, I can drop these horizontal tabs right on the frame here. And let's say I want to draw my team's attention to the header up top. And so I will be able to add something like, let's say I'm working on a landing page for solutions. So I would go ahead and add it on here. It will be highlighted, so everyone who will be reviewing this page, they will understand that this is the tab where the page will sit. I will definitely add some comments and disclaimers here, but basically by doing this, I'm already showing what it is that I want to do. And basically I can continue working like that. So if I want to have a hero image, I'm going to go ahead and add a placeholder here. And the cool part is that if I want to replace the placeholder image, I can just go ahead and replace it right here. And this is how you can work your way through the wireframe. And it's really cool, at least from my perspective, that you can use a reference and actually drop a design landing page on the board. At the same time, when you're creating your wireframe, it's still pretty lo-fi and you're not getting too caught up in details. I don't have to worry about the color of the font or spend too much time thinking what the icon should look like. And everything that I add here, like for example, if I understand that I want to add a button, it would also look pretty lo-fi. And I'll just basically add something like sign up here. I can change the state of the button easily if I want to map out different states of the wireframe. But the part that I really enjoy is that I don't have to worry too much about rounded corners, about color of the page, because this is not what I want to discuss here, what I want to show to my team. I want to just generally outline what it is that I'm working on and not get too caught up in the details. So hopefully this gives you a pretty good idea of what wireframing in Miro looks like. And now let's quickly go over some of the recommendations that I have based on my experience. So, and this is something that I already mentioned. I definitely recommend to keep wireframes lo-fi, because if you try to get into too much detail with wireframes, you will get a lot of feedback about the colors, the fonts, and things like that. And this is not what the wireframes are for. Wireframes are for aligning on the general concept, the layout of the page, and not necessarily the details, because it's up to designers to create pixel perfect design. It's also really important to provide full context and disclaimers, because we are so distributed. We are always optimizing for asynchronous first collaboration. And I always make sure that I help my team members navigate the board and give the right feedback. So if there's any background info, if there are any additional comments, links, and whatnot, I definitely add them, no matter if the person who needs to review this is sitting next to me or if they're in a different time zone. There needs to be full context about the project that you are sharing with your team. I also find that showing instead of telling really helps. So you just saw that I dropped a reference right beside this wireframe I was working on. And this is super helpful. If there is an existing page that works the same way that you want your page to work, definitely drop a reference to it so that people can easily see what you're referencing to. And something that has been super powerful for me is helping people understand what kind of feedback you're looking for and how you're going to work with it. Something that worked really well for me, and I constantly do this, is I always ask people to clearly let me know if the feedback that they're giving me is a blocker and we cannot ship this page as it is because there are certain restrictions or certain reasons why we shouldn't do it. And I also ask to highlight the feedback that is more of a nice to have so that I can understand that this is just a suggestion. And then I will be able to incorporate this feedback moving forward. For example, when we do user testing or when we plan next iterations, and this is where I can incorporate this feedback. Doing this, I make it easier for people to give feedback, and I also manage their expectations better because we have an agreement that if it's critical feedback, I definitely take it into account and I react to it and I communicate what it is that we do in the end. And if it's more like some thoughts, suggestions that people share, then we basically park it, leave it in the backlog, and then come back to it when the time's right for it. And I want to give you a quick overview of the features that Miro has that will be helpful for collaborative wireframing. And then we are finally going to do some hands-on wireframing in Miro, and all of you will have a chance to do that. So the features that are really useful and powerful for a collaborative wireframing are comments without mentions. They're super helpful because what I can do, and I can show this really quickly. As you know, I'm on the call here with Joanna, who works with me in our marketing team. And what is super cool is I can actually zoom in right into this spot where I want Joanna to look, and then I can mention her, and when she visits the board, she will be able to actually see what it is that I'm referencing, what it is that I want her to look at. So it's really helpful when you're super specific about things you want your team members to check out. Right now we're in Zoom, but we also have built-in video chat in Miro, which is really cool. It works great for online, in-person, real-time workshops. You can actually get all of your team on a call right on the board, and you can have people workshop and brainstorm together. We also have integrations with Unsplash, Google Image, Icon Finder, and other libraries. And this is super helpful if you need additional visuals that will help communicate your idea better. And you can see that right now I'm in presentation mode. It actually helps really well if you need to present your wireframes. You can break them out screen by screen. And this way you can not just only create wireframe, but you can actually present it live to stakeholders. We also have link to functionality. And of course, this is not necessarily an ideal solution for prototyping, but still you're able to create links and navigate from one frame to another or from one place on the board to another. And this way you can show what the actual interaction with the page will look like. And you already saw me using web page capture. It works well if you want to drop a reference right on the board. And the cool part is that when you use web page capture, it saves the link. So when you click on the capture, it will open the actual page in the next tab, which is super helpful. You can also take screenshots and upload them by just pasting them on the board, or you can upload pretty much any file format to the board as well. So that's an option too. And now that we know all that, it's time to have some fun and wireframe together. So what I want us to do in the next 5 minutes or so is try to recreate a web page using Miro. So you will see on the board that there are some spare frames below, and you need to grab one and use it for your wireframe. So what I will ask you to do is go to this website here, and I'm going to paste a link in the Zoom chat in a moment. So this link leads to a pretty fun site, which is generating non-existent random startup landing pages. So for example, I got this Meet Inflationly page. So Inflationly is the world's first resilient inflation, whatever that means. So each of you will get a page generated for you, and your goal is to use our wireframing library to try and recreate this landing page. And it will be really cool if you can also think of top one delight, something that you enjoyed about our wireframing functionality, and top one feature request. Maybe there was something that you really wanted to accomplish using Miro, but you were not able to do that. So I'll appreciate if you can do that as well. And you don't have to worry about wireframes too much. They can be as lo-fi as it can get. And it's totally okay if you don't recreate all of the page in 5 minutes. Just have some fun with it and play around with the functionality. And in the meantime, let me start the timer here. And I'm going to wireframe with you as well. So let's go for it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in chat. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. So we are wrapping up our wireframing. And if you have feedback that you feel like sharing, please don't forget to leave it on the sticky notes. And we will be sharing a link to this board with all of the attendees. So there's a bunch of useful links here that I encourage you to explore. And there are a couple of highlights that I want to draw your attention to. If you're interested in seeing how great companies use Miro, definitely visit Miroverse. You will find things like icebreakers similar to the one that we had at the beginning of the session, and more great templates from the best product teams from MailChimp, Coda, and other companies. I also encourage you to check out our guides. Since we're a distributed company, we have a ton of experience that we feel like sharing with the world. And our blog has a ton of great resources, interviews with the brightest minds in the industry, best practices from distributed teams, and everything else. So definitely check that out. And if you're up for it, please leave us some feedback for the session. We're always looking for ways we can improve. And let me check our questions parking lot here. So the question about adding custom components to the wireframing library, we currently don't have this option. We've seen other users create their custom components and then save them as templates. Templates can be shared with the team. So this is something that has worked well for our users, and we have this on the backlog for wireframing as well. The experience of synchronizing wireframes in Miro with design deliverables in dedicated design tools, something that I know works really well is our integration with Sketch. So if you use Sketch for pixel perfect design, you can drop Sketch mockups right in Miro. And then when updates are being made in Sketch, this will be reflected in Miro. So you can create a wireframe, then create pixel perfect design, and you will be able to see all of the updates in real time. So that's a good way to make it work. We're coming up on the hour, and I will continue answering the questions. Feel free to drop off. You will have all of the materials and links shared with you after the session. The question about Figma integration, great question. This is something that has been on our radar, and this is frequently asked by our users. Unfortunately, there are no concrete plans that I can share with you. That being said, please stay tuned because we're always looking for ways we can enhance UX design and research experience for our users. So this may be something coming up at some point. Looks like there are no more additional questions. If there are, I will be more than happy to answer them for you. And thanks everyone for being so fun, collaborative, asking great questions, and giving feedback. So thanks everyone. Hopefully this was fun. If there are any additional questions, don't hesitate to drop them here. I will be happy to answer them for you.